Okay, I'm just going to start to go right to the point because, frankly, there's a lot I want to cover in this video, and I don't think the introduction is needed. You know what this is. Those who have followed me on all three channels know what this is. So let's not waste any time. Let's get right down to the nitty gritty, especially some of the stuff that's been happening in the past 1.5, 2 months. It has been pretty much chaotic. It has been pretty much tragic. And for the most part, a lot of things, a lot of questions that I think a lot of people know the answer to are simply not trying to take that step or the necessary step to really start having the dialogue that is needed to basically reduce and curve or eliminate these things from happening again. There was something in the New York Daily News that brought up a very good question here, and they brought up some lot of stuff that I actually agree with. Even the Post have brought up some stuff that I actually feel that need to be looked at and need to be confronted. I've heard politicians, I heard people from that were former mayors from my town. I've heard senators. I heard the candidates who are, trying to campaign for presidency. I hear a lot of things from the community leaders. I hear a lot of things from the police department. I hear a lot of things in general of what's been happening within the last few months. I'm referring to the Orlando shooting. I'm referring to what happened in Louisiana. I'm referring to what happened in Minnesota. I'm referring to what happened in Dallas. All have a connection, whether you believe it or not. They have a connection, and that's hate. And how hate has become a poison in this country, to the point now we're seeing these kind of things popping up on a more rapid rate. I'm gonna say it right now. I am heartbroken. I am saddened that those 5 officers have lost their lives. That the family members of those 5 officers is now have to go with the torment and dealing with burying their own. Something I don't think any family, any mother, a father, a husband, son, or daughter should ever have to do. Brave officers who was just doing their job, keeping the peace, basically just going out there and ensuring that nothing crazy was happening. And for this guy, which we are getting new information right now about his psyche, which you kind of expect it when it comes down to someone who had basically took it upon himself to use a sniper rifle and gun down police officers, 11 in all. No one knew what the hell was going on until they realized, oh my God, too late to find out what's happening. And for the record, I do believe they did the right thing in terms of setting a role, but I know that's been up for debate. I don't know, why. But that's not a here or there. We're seeing how a lot of people want to bash Black Lives Matter, but they don't seem to understand why Black Lives Matter, the movement, has started in the first place. It's kind of amazing. But that's part of the problem here. We have stars talking about inequality and how things have been, and how opportunities seem to be narrowing down very, very little for those who are, let's be honest, not of skin color. To people actually getting mad that one person actually brought this up instead of actually having a sensible, respectful debate. I'm bringing all this up for a lot of reasons because they all have one thing in common: hatred, bigotry, you name it, is there. And I'm going to say it like this: I think it's time that everyone, the police, the communities, the senators, all the politicians, come together and finally have to talk. Enough with the rhetoric nonsense. Enough with the finger pointing. Because I'm gonna be honest with you, if you want to finger point, everybody shares the blame. There ain't not one person here not at fault here. Everyone shares the blame, and you want to know why? Because of lack of communication, lack of understanding, lack of actually working together to curb the violence that has plagued our country for decades. To the point where you have other countries now warning their own people, don't come to this area, don't go here because you may get discriminated on. You may get profiled on because of the color of your skin. You got President Obama trying to curb that anxiety, saying that that's not what America's all about. It's kind of hard to prove that when you have politicians, yes, right, members who are supposed to represent our country, going on Twitter, making the most dumbest remarks I've ever seen in Twitter, saying this means war. Watch out, Obama. Watch out, Black Lives Matter. You bunch of thugs. Real America's coming. What the hell that's supposed to mean? And how do you think it's going to reflect on other people who are looking at that Twitter from other countries? And if you think that erasing that tweet is going to make things better, it didn't. Because number one, a lot of people have it and they're retweeting it. They're retweeting it right now. I'm fed up with this nonsense that's going on here. Every time when something like this happens, it's always finger pointing. Always blaming this side. Always blaming that side. No one's coming together and actually having a conversation and saying what they really feel. This is what's going on in our neighborhood. This is what's going on here. Same thing with the police department. This is what we're dealing with. A lot of the issues could easily be resolved if they all come together and bring out the issues that has been plaguing our neighborhood for years. I'm going to say it right now. Yeah, I agree with protests. I agree with that process. It's an American right. But protesting is not enough. There have to be open dialogue. There have to be some kind of a communication going on, which I don't see happening from any side. Any side. Not just one side, every side doesn't seem to want to make that step. Each one of them is waiting for the other one to make a move. Swallow your pride, come together, and let's have this conversation. Because I got news for you. A lot of the people who have been saying a lot of stuff lately, even some of the stuff I don't agree, do have a point at one point or another during their whole entire conversation. I'm going to go to the police department first. And I'm going to use New York City as an example as to why I feel the way I feel and why there has to be some changes in the policies of the police department. There has to be an independent investigator to investigate the police. Not someone who's connected with the police, an independent arbitrator. Someone who is separate from the precincts, from the police department, from the prosecutors. And speaking of that, you need to have a prosecutor who's not connected to the police as well. A few days ago, somebody mentioned that there was 0% in terms of cops being prosecuted for breaking the law. I agree. But let's even go through another situation, the reason why that is. And I think anybody who look at law and order knows the link between the police and the DA's office. Let's be honest here. The DA needs the cops. They need them to do their job. It's going to be their job to prosecute according to the law and the penal code that is given to them. The last thing the DA wants to do is tick off the precinct by prosecuting one of their own. So yes, there's an issue there. There is a conflict of issue. Because in all rationality, the prosecutors don't want to prosecute the police unless there's absolutely undeniable, undisputable evidence that they have indeed broke the law, which has happened on a couple of occasions in New York's history. But lots of times, they're not going to make that effort to prosecute. They're put on a show, but that's as far as you're going to see. And it's not that hard to point out how the prosecutor approached each case. Even some who seem to sound genuine and sound like they're willing to do something, you gotta look at how many convictions they're trying to get, how many charges that's going to be done out there. Who are they talking about this? Is it the media, or are they doing this behind closed doors in the courtroom? Or are they just ladder-gagging, which we have seen a lot of times when the grand jury takes like forever just to get back a no conviction verdict or not to indict. But to make no mistake about it, yeah, the prosecutor don't really want to prosecute police because they're linked to the police department. They're linked together. They work hand in hand. You're going to need a special prosecutor that doesn't work with the police department. Period. End of discussion. And I don't care if the commissioner don't see it that way or feel that it's going to interfere in crime. The bottom line is you can't police yourself. And for a long time, we've been seeing that the police department has been policing themselves. They're not going to be objective on the matter. There's going to be bias on the matter. And I think it's about time we have a special panel. Someone who's going to take these cases, investigate these cases, do their due process, of course. I'm not saying they can't not to do that. I'm not saying to rush the judgment, do the due process, and then when they found the evidence that is necessary, especially when it's clear as day, prosecute accordingly, charge accordingly, indict accordingly. You're not going to get that as long as you have police investigating police. It never works. I don't care what anybody says. A company cannot police themselves. Cops cannot police themselves. Companies cannot police themselves. You have to have some people regulating, and sometimes you have to have people actually monitoring those who are supposed to serve and protect the people of the United States. Whether it's the military, which they do have, by the way, and the police is no different. It is no secret that the police have become more of a military style now than ever before. That there's a reason why the term police state has happened, especially in New York City. Now they've been doing, to be fair, they've been doing a lot to try and curb that reputation. They have been. I'm not going to sit there and say they haven't got off their asses and not actually evaluate their stuff. There has been some laws that have been changing, some policies have been changing, all because of civil courts and courts, but there has been some movements. After the situation involving a guy getting choked out because of a pack of loose leaves, they've been trying to curve down the quality of life law. Not by much as I want to, but they're doing that. But there's still lots of work to be done. There's a lot of policies that the police department has that is discriminatory towards minorities. There's no secret about that. And New York is no different. New York wants to pretend that they're multicultural, but they have an issue with minorities. The police department does, and it falls on the policies they have. When you have a policy called stop and frisk, and your main target is black and Latinos, because in your own policies, blacks and Latinos are the most aggressive people and the most violent people, the most likely to react, so you have to treat them basically like second-class citizens and basically frisk them at every chance you get. That's a problem. And it gotten worse in the Bloomberg administration. It started by Giuliani, by Commissioner Bratton, by the way. And it got even worse by Bloomberg, because Bloomberg added some stuff he had no business adding. Holding people's fingerprints, keeping DNA, even though they have never been convicted. That kind of stuff. Having a database illegally for people who have never been convicted, never been arrested, but you're going to keep their record on database. Why? The man was literally trying to make that into a police state. This is what we mean by police state. Overreaching. And speaking of overreaching, do I have to explain the situation in Jersey? How he sent cops over there without even acknowledging the state of New Jersey to stake out a community, you have no jurisdiction in. These type of stuff. And the stop and frisk, which gotten worse under his administration, basically stopping anybody who looks suspicious in their eyes. Forget about their due process. Forget about their own freedom. I'm just gonna stop and frisk them. Send a message, so they say. This kind of stuff. Add with the fact that there is a huge humongous of fear. The cops have the fear. The fear is there. Guy got killed in his car. They showed pictures on the papers. It was disturbing as hell. I cringed seeing that picture. I couldn't believe it. The reason is that there was a gun involved. Didn't say he reached for the gun. Didn't say he pulled for the gun. There was a gun involved. I'll take that back. They said he was reaching for his wallet. But because there was a gun involved, they didn't take any chances. And they shot the guy. Even though he was reaching for his wallet. By the way, this ain't the first time this incident has happened. And a few months prior to this incident, and this was caught on dash cam, the cop followed him. Didn't follow any kind of protocol at all. Basically said, let me see your wallet. The man went back in his car to get his wallet. He shot him because he thought he was reaching for a gun. The man is lucky to be alive. That cop is actually being charged with attempted murder. Now, to be fair, he didn't meant to kill that. You meant to shoot that guy. He didn't kill him, by the way. He shot him. But there is always in the back of some of these cops' heads that a black man could pull out a gun at any moment. We need to take him out before he takes us out. That's not a coincidence, gentlemen. That is a policy that has been implemented and has been instilled by a lot of cops. And I'm pretty sure that's exactly what has happened. Let me see your wallet. Guy went to reach for his wallet. He spotted something that looks like a gun. Probably was a gun. And even though he probably wasn't reaching for the gun, his panic shot the guy dead. Now the question is, would he have done the same thing if it was a white guy? I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know. I'm not going to say no. If you want me to be fair, do I think it would have handled differently? Probably so. And also to be fair, do we know the full implication of what happened here? We don't. But I find it very interesting that everyone who has spoken about this, you know who you are, said that everybody has the right to bear arms. But for some reason, when it comes to a black guy having arms, meaning guns, oh, now it's a whole different story. Now he's up to no good. For a white guy, they have the right to bear arms. It's self-defense. That's our constitutional right. A black guy, that's a whole different story. They're thugs. They're hoodlums. They're criminals. You have to take them down before you take them down because they got a gun. There is an aggression tactic that the police have with black men and Hispanic men. Minorities, period. They have this type of mentality. And people across the states are getting sick and tired of it. They're getting sick and tired of having to bury their sons over something that probably wouldn't have been that serious in the first place. They're getting tired of the brutality and the profiling and the policies that target black men and Latino men, just black and Latino, period. And people want change. People want change. They want the policy change. They want the method of arrest change. Because how long can you go on with this and think there ain't going to be no repercussion after that? I'm not saying everybody should go out there and do that. No. But what I'm saying is, it'll only be a matter of time before the boiling point tips over, and next thing you know, you got a huge mess that you can't fix. Now let's go on to what Giuliani said. And something that I want to make this very clear here, because I think that Giuliani, and for the record, I don't think he's a racist. I think he's thinking like a prosecutor. He have always thought like as a prosecutor, even when he was running, even when he had ran for 2 terms of the mayor. And yes, his mouth got himself in trouble big time during the time. I never forget the day that when a cop shot a black man. There was during his last 2 years of his terms, and immediately he went. He didn't, instead of finding out what happened, he immediately threw the guy's criminal record. Now wait a minute. What the hell did his criminal past history have to do with right now? But you see, this is why he thinks the way he thinks. He is thinking like as a prosecutor. And this is why I say that prosecutors who are connected to the police department cannot prosecute. You have to have somebody independent. Someone who's not going to be linked to the cops in any shape and form. Not talking to them, not having breakfast with them, not sitting down and drinking tea with them. Someone who's going to be pretty much completely neutral from that. So when they can do their job in terms of investigating, it will be without the influence or the bias or any kind of link to the police department whatsoever. You have to have that. Because what Giuliani did on Sunday on Face the Nation didn't surprise me whatsoever. I know a lot of people call him a racist. I don't think he's a racist, but he's a prosecutor who only sees things one way. This is another big issue here. He said that the blacks means to learn to respect the cops. Now, technically speaking, one half he's right about one thing. You do want to respect the cops. You don't want to go up there and curse them out and spit on them and do everything else. That's not respectful. However, something that you need to understand, and it's not just for the cops, it's for everybody. You, me, the police, the senators, everybody. Respect is not given, it's earned. One don't just get respect. It's earned. And right now, as I'm speaking, as I'm seeing the situation going on, a lot of the cops haven't earned that respect. A lot of cops haven't earned the respect of the community. And by the way, for those who are up there saying that Black Lives Matter are a bunch of thugs, there's a lot of celebrities who seem to disagree with you. Now I'll get to Black Lives Matter in a minute because I think people don't fully understand why it existed. And yes, there's some problems with it, and I'll be the first to say that I got a huge feedback about it because that's going to be the other side of the coin that matters. But I want to stick with this for a minute. And that is the Congress people, and what Giuliani's saying. They have phones with thugs, they have this, they have that. There's one thing that he said that I agree with, and I'll save that for the other side of the coin. But it's amazing, again. A lot of people who were speaking with it. First of all, with Sarah Palin, I don't want to hear nothing about Sarah Palin, because Sarah Palin is a racist in my period. She hasn't done anything to help the matter. In fact, she has said a lot of things that make matters worse. Same thing with Donald Trump. And the same thing with that senator who made that ridiculous tweet. And keep in mind, these are supposed to be, well, Sarah Palin is not in any active form of office. But those who are in office, those who are there saying these dumb things, those who are supposed to represent or had represent at one point the people of the representing state they're supposed to represent, saying the stuff you said about going after Obama was, for some reason, that seemed to be the ultimate scapegoat for you guys every damn time. These are supposed to be responsible senators and representatives who make laws, by the way, that may have caused the problems that we're seeing right now. You guys ain't doing any helping matters. You're making matters worse. I expect my leaders to come forward and say, yo, we need to talk about this. But you know what? These leaders ain't going to do that. And that's the problem. These leaders, whether you like to believe it or not, want this to happen. And all you need to do is look at their track record. Gun violence. The Orlando shooting. The Sandy Hook situation, which to me was the most gut-wrenching of all. Both of them was. You think that they will come together and talk about how they can actually curb the gun violence in this country. You think they'll go to the NRA and say, yo, NRA, we got to do something. This is becoming a problem. We need to come together and try to figure out how we can actually curb this. No. They don't care. Why would they want to do anything when it's going to hurt their wallet? The NRA gives them millions of dollars not to do anything. And guess what? They're not doing anything. You think the NRA cares about your amendment rights? They don't really care about your amendment rights. To them, that amendment means money to them. It's not the right to bear arms. It's the right to make money. Because if they really care, they would have come with it. They would have shown me if they care. If they would have came to all the senators and say, look, let's just work something out because this is getting out of hand. Our weapons should not be used in this form. But no. Anytime you see a mass shooting, they smile. They want people to buy guns. What better way to have the gun profit boost than to see a mass shooting so everybody can come out and buy a gun with the illusion that will keep them guaranteed, that will keep them safe. Gotta be real here. Let's be honest. They don't care about this. They're willing to argue and debate over stuff that's not important. That's not going to have any kind of effect on the job market or the economy or the safety of the American people. They rather debate on something else that is almost non-existent, non-important, than to actually do something that will consider to be not only historic, but actually show that they really care for the people, really care for the lives that was lost, and pass sensible, respectable, reasonable laws to prevent or at least curb this from happening. They will not do that. The Orlando shooting, if anything else, they use that as an excuse. If everybody has guns, none of that would not happen. If everybody have guns, and this is from Trump saying, oh, this will be beautiful, that would have been taken care of. Really? If everybody have guns, wouldn't we be sitting here talking about why the cops shot everybody? Because the cops can't distinguish which one is which. Who's the bad guy here? Everybody got guns. Amazing how nobody don't think about that part. And by the way, again, it seems like right to bear arms only applies to a certain group of people. Because that guy had a license to carry arms. But again, it seemed like when it comes to blacks, that doesn't apply. And mind you, this is a guy who does not think that banning weapons is the answer. But I do believe some kind of regulation and some type of restrictions on certain weapons, which has no business, let's be honest, has no business being in the hands of civilians anyway, should be implemented. Unless you're telling me you're in the military and you're about to go overseas, why the hell you have a machine gun? Are you going to tell me that anybody has the right to carry a rocket launcher? Are you serious now? We got too many responsible senators here. We got too many responsible politicians, period. And they're not making the situation better, they're making it worse. Because rather than say that we need to talk, we need to get together, we need to really talk to the community, they're pointing fingers. And they're not making anything better. It's Black Lives Matter's fault. It's this group's fault. It's that group's fault. Can we for once have a sensible dialogue without the rhetoric and without the finger pointing? You think finger pointing is going to bring those 5 officers' lives back? There's a lot of stuff going on, especially the news anchors. I'm getting real sick and tired of these radical news anchors who think they know what the hell they're talking about. Who think they are actually making an impact, but in reality, all they're doing is making matters worse. Not understanding, not doing their research, not actually understanding the situation that is going on between the cultures. Just spout out ridiculous, even so racial stuff to an audience that, let's be honest, still think this 1935. We got an issue here. We got a problem here. And we need to address it. Now I'm going to flip the coin here because, like I said, everybody, if you want to play the blame game, everybody has to share in that piece. Everybody has to share a piece of the pie on that. And I'm going to speak to the African American audience who listen to this audio, because you need to hear this. You need to hear it from your fellow black man who is speaking right now. Because frankly, not everything that a lot of people are saying about the community is all just basically hate. Like I said, I don't agree with most of what Giuliani said, but there's one thing he did say that I do agree on. One thing I think people need to understand. And if you look deep down into your own heart, you understand that this is the issue too. And this is part of the reason why police act the way they act towards us. We need to get our young men who's running the streets, going buck wild, stealing things, shooting up the place, being in gangs. We need to get our youth back and need to say, hey, look, I'll knock it off. You're giving us a bad name. What the hell you think you're doing? We as a community need to also take back our streets. We need to take a stand for the nonsense that's been going on in our streets. Because let's be honest, we're just as much at fault as the police. And by the way, how's that no snitch policy going on? It didn't help matters. It made matters worse. And you know what I'm talking about. Don't say nothing. You don't see nothing. And then meanwhile, you got these young crazy kids out there, our youth, going crazy, going wild, doing things unchecked. And we expect the cops to be more civil with these men. Perfect example. When Spike Lee made that movie Chirac, you know, a lot of people within the black community bashed him for it. How dare he make a film about that, even though the stuff he was bringing out is true. This is happening in the community. This is happening within the streets. You got young black men killing each other for nothing. The gun violence, the drugs, all of that has plagued our community to the point that there is fear. And it ain't just from the cops. There's a policy that UPS has in Staten Island that they are not to deliver in Stapleton projects. You want to know why? Because when one of their own came there to do their job, I mean, now, their job, All they was doing is delivering a package. The man got jumped. He was robbed for that package along with other goods. He was held on a roof. The man's life was threatened. And all the man was doing was delivering a package. Got threatened by a bunch of thugs. And as a result of this, UPS and a lot of businesses will flat out not go in that area. Not because they're racist or anything. It's because, number one, they have to consider the safety of their employees. I remember going to a bike shop. I had to deliver a bike to them because it was my sister's bike. They would not go down to Stapleton because number one, they said, look, man, it's crazy over there. I go and bring my man, and he even told me it ain't nothing about race. I knew it wasn't about race. He knew me for years when I was in Staten Island. But he flat out would not go to the Stapleton Project because he knew he would get robbed. Hell, there were people robbing each other, breaking into their houses. My sister got robbed from the neighbor across the street. Her own neighbor robbed her. Can't have good things. If you gotta keep it hidden. Far Rockaway, Queens. Used to be a war zone back then. I don't know if it is now. But the reason why I didn't stay with my aunt down there is because number one, every 5 minutes somebody's shooting something. There was always ambulance and cops going down there. This is a reflection that the cops see. They see this. And on their back of their mind, they're saying, look at these animals. Look at them. Parents don't do nothing. They let them just run buck wild. Some of the parents are involved in this mess to begin with. We have to protect ourselves at all costs. And the perfect example is the incident that happened not too long ago. When you had a police officer patrolling the projects, and because of the history of these projects, the history of what's been happening between murder, rape, you name it, that cop was so afraid to walk those halls. No lights, cop holding a gun. He accidentally pulled the trigger and killed someone. He was prosecuted, but he didn't serve any jail time. He got parole. People were mad. People were upset. Now I sat down and I talked to a friend of mine. We sat down together, and we heard the case. We were talking about it. We understood why the jury have reached a guilty verdict, because it takes a lot of pull to pull those triggers. It's not easy. It's not a loose trigger. You have to put up a lot of weight to pull those triggers. However, the prosecutor did not want to send him in jail. People were outraged, saying that justice was not served. Now, I'm looking at it from both sides. I say, yeah, he should have served some time. But at the same time, I'm saying, I don't think he meant to kill that person. And I'm looking at the policies. Why would a rookie cop be there in the first place? I'm more mad at the guy trying to cover it up than I am with him. I'm more mad at the fact that other cop, you know what I'm talking about, the one who didn't even serve any time, the one who actually met that cop being a scapegoat, come on the air and say, like, if he got what he deserved, it's his own fault. I was more mad at that. When the reality is that the project building has a bad rap. And frankly, a project building like that has a bad rap should not have two rookie cops, or even a rookie cop to begin with, to patrol those halls by himself. Sorry. Somebody dropped the ball on that. There should have been some seasoned cops, those who've been around the neighborhood, those who actually know hand on foot what's going on and what to expect. Not some rookie cop who's going to be thrown in the face of danger without a veteran cop to assist him, to guide him. Nevertheless, let's be realistic. The fear came from the fact that that project has a bad name. And I gotta tell you, cops want to go home to their family. They're human just like we are. You keep hearing about how bad this neighborhood is this and how bad the project is that. You're going to react a certain way. I don't care who you are, black, white, whatever. You're going to react a certain way. A lot of these cops want to go home. I want to see these cops go home to their family. When I see a cop, and I said this before and I'll say it again, when I'm walking down the street and I see a cop on foot patrol, and we have a lot of it where I live at. I'm in Canarsie, so there's a lot of foot cops roaming around, especially in the areas where it was prone to violence. We had a couple of incidents here not too long ago. The shrines are still out there of those who have lost their lives. It's very sad. And as a result, they put a lot of cops out there on the street to try and curb that down, especially now, more so in the summertime. I walk down the street, and the first thing I'm saying to myself, God bless you. Thank you for being here. Go home to your family safe. Those are my exact words coming through my mind. I'm walking out there, I'm nodding my head in acknowledgement, but I'm also saying thank you for being here. Because I think anybody who has a sensible head knows that they don't want to see any harm happen to the cops. Those who don't have this instill hatred of cops know they're just doing they want to do their jobs. And not all cops are bad. A lot of cops will go out their way to assist people. There are some good cops who do great things for the community. It's a shame the media brings that up. I guess hearing a cop doing something good for change is not good for ratings. But there are good cops out there. There are great cops out there. Cops will go the extra mile to ensure that there's safety there. And it frustrates me that the bad ones get all the attention and not the good ones. The one that takes the time and talk and try to sort things out. The one that actually will do their job. Plus, do stuff that they didn't even have to do. There are great cops out there. I'm not going to bash the whole entire police situation because they don't deserve that. I can tell you right now, some of these cops out there, some of the great officers, some of the great men and women who serve my city are frustrated because of what the bad cops are doing. They're angry because of what the cops are doing. And they're even angry at the politics who doesn't seem to want to make a change to keep them safe. Yet at the same time, we as a community, as civilians, need to start waking up. We need to realize that there's an issue within our own neighborhoods with gang violence, with the drugs being poured in. And us being quiet and not saying anything isn't helping matters. It just made the matter worse. Because you're actually justifying, by you being quiet about it, you're justifying this to continue. You're letting the police know that you're okay with the gang violence that's going on. That you're okay with drugs being infesting your neighborhood. Making it worse. You're okay that some of the gang members have take claims in apartment buildings and claim it as their own. Making people afraid to even walk their own hallways to get to home safely. This is the kind of stuff that has been going on. That no snitching policy It ain't help matters. And yes, I say it right now, it's an intimidation factor. This idea of, hate on the cops for all the wrong reasons ain't helping matters. So when I say that everybody needs to share in a piece of the pie, I mean everybody needs to share in a piece of the pie. We all need to come together. We all need to throw out our dirty laundry, all the problem that has infested our community, the police department for years. Let's bring it all out. Because until we do that, we're going to continue having the same problems over and over and over and over again. And then an endless cycle here. Congress, the police department, the community leaders, the community in general, we all need to come together. Everybody wants to be safe. No one should have to be feared to walk the streets. No one should have to fear to be harassed or fear to be shot at. We all want a nice, safe environment so we can raise our children. So we can sit down on the porch without worried about having to be shot by a drive-by. But the only way we're going to do that is if we have open, true communication. Real communication. That's the only way, folks. That's the only way. We need to stop listening to the rhetoric nonsense. We need to stop listening to those who only still hate and not unity. We need to stop listening to those who want to put the blame on one specific group of people or peoples. And we need to come together and say enough is enough. We need to unite. We need to come together. We need to talk. We need to get new policies done. We need to be a community again. I'm tired of seeing this, folks. I'm tired of seeing the death and destruction that has been plaguing our country. I love the United States. I wouldn't trade it for any other country in the world. But damn it, man, we need to start. We need to wake up. We act like we're different than any other country in the world. We're not. And other countries out there are looking at us and laughing at us, or basically pointing fingers saying, how can they talk about freedom when they don't even know what freedom is in their own land? How can we be the policemen of other countries when we can't even police ourselves here? We need to wake up. Sunday's Daily News had a very impact cartoon. They had a black child, a white child, a Caucasian child, and had the flag full of holes ripped up. No words, just those kids looking up at it. We shouldn't keep going backwards. We need to go forward. We need to start talking. We need to also look at ourselves. Because whether you know or not, a lot of hatred is instilled within ourselves as well. And we need to look at ourselves and we need to look at ourselves in the mirror. There's a whole lot of stuff we need to do. As for the Black Lives Matter, I'll go with this. The reason why Black Lives Matter exists is because, number one, a lot of people is going frustrated of the injustice that the police department has gotten. They feel that there has not been enough done to curb the violence amongst black youth. A lot of this has to do with the fact is that a lot of the excessive force used to take down certain individuals. A perfect example is the chokehold that have killed Garner. An unnecessary chokehold. The guy never got prosecuted. And it was very clear he wasn't going to get prosecuted because, or indicted in this case, because they took way too long. They feel that the reason why it's called Black Lives Matter is because when it comes to blacks and Latinos in this country, they seem to be looked at as low on the totem pole. They seem to be looked at low as second class citizens. They feel that the police department, as well as a lot of people, don't consider their problems seriously. And they feel that there's a lot more convictions towards the blacks and Latinos. And I'm saying Latinos for a reason, because they are just in the same vote as we are. There's a lot more convictions. There's a bias in the justice system. There's a bias in the police system. But there's a lot of things that is biased. There's a broken system, which it is. It's a broken system. So the Black Lives Movement exists for that reason. Because they feel that their lives don't seem to matter as much as the lives of a white guy or a black guy. I wish it was all. I wish all lives matter. I really do. But the reality is, there are a lot of people who don't see it that way, and that's why Black Lives Matter movement is existing. Also, I want to make this very clear, and those who have reported the news also made it clear. The incident involving Dallas had nothing to do with the Black Lives Movement. In fact, it was actually peaceful. There were actual people talking to the cops, taking pictures with the cops. It was a protest, but it wasn't as if these guys went out of their way to basically throw rocks at them and go curse them out and be disrespectful. It was actually very peaceful. It was that guy who was acting alone who did those crimes, not the Black Lives Movement did. Black Lives Movement had nothing to do with what that guy did. It was disgusting. It was shameful. And it was very unfortunate that because of this group name, that they actually been linked to that, even though they're not. However, I will say this to the Black Lives Movement. From a black man's perspective, you cannot win your argument with hatred. Make your protests, but at the same time, have an open dialogue. Throwing rocks and cursing out the cops is not going to get your voice heard. Being disorderly and basically, being aggressive towards the police is not going to make your voice heard. If anything, it's going to make the matters worse. Again, protest. Make your voice be heard, but also go further than that. Have an open dialogue. You will never win an argument with hate. Hate will never resolve anything. And as far as the politicians concerned, I'll leave it at that. Wake the fuck up. I'm getting tired of your rhetoric nonsense. And excuse my language for those who not used to hear me swear. But I think it's time that we start to hold a lot of these Congress and a lot of these senators and a lot of these so-called guys running for the White House accountable for their own actions. This is not 1955. This is not 1885. This is not the 1960s, the 30s, the 40s. This is 2016. Stop trying to cater to a specific group of people. You said you are representatives. Start representing. Stop catering to a certain group of people or a certain group of backers and start acting like the senators that we have voted you in for. The voters deserve better than that. Democrat, Republicans, I don't care. A lot of you guys are clowns. A lot of you guys are making things a lot worse. Get your head out your ass and start doing what we have voted you to do. Represent the people. When I mean represent the people, I don't mean one particular group of people. I don't mean just one little group of rich people. I mean all of the people. Wake up. We have a serious problem here. And you need to act like this is a serious problem. Instead of pointing fingers at this guy, that guy, this group of people, this group of people, start waking up. Start having a serious talk about it with your voters. And start coming up with reasonable, respectable laws that will curb these type of things from happening. You guys make the policies. You guys need to evaluate the policies. And if the policies ain't working or it becomes too discriminatory, you need to change the policy. I'm tired of these politicians. I'm sick and tired of them. Not one of them have shown me anything that they're willing to make drastic changes to prevent this type of stuff from happening. Not one of them. From the local level, the federal level, the state level, not one of them. And that needs to change. That needs to change now. Gentlemen, if you stuck with me this whole time, thank you. I am more than open to hear your guys' opinion. I am more than open to share a dialogue. I want that dialogue to happen. I'm very, very hurt about these incidents that have been going on. It needs to stop. We need to stop. This country should be better than what we are right now. And we're not. You want to point blame on all the evils outside of our country. We got a lot of stuff going on here in the country, and we need to start to wake up. But I'd like to hear your opinion. I'd like to hear what your feelings on these issues that I brought up. Because I think everybody needs to start sharing and start talking and start dealing with and start communicating with the stuff that's been going on. Until next time, guys, J77 saying take care, be safe, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.